My Lords, I find myself questioning the premise on which this amendment rests, and indeed on which the bill which it is amending rests, namely that there are too many of us here. It's repeated very often, but it's rarely interrogated, it's rarely properly analysed. The case against my noble friend Lord Blencathra's amendment has been eloquently made by others. I'm not going to repeat the points that others have made. My noble friend, the Viscount Astor, I think makes an extremely good point about the perverse incentives that we've brought in. My noble friend Viscount Hailsham makes a very good point about the retrospective nature of this. And who can disagree with the compelling case made by the noble Lord, the Earl of Kinnoul, about the low-frequency but high-impact members? But we wouldn't be having this debate at all if it weren't for this general assumption that we need to free up space. And I have to say, before I came here, I took that as axiomatic. It's such a huge, we're always told, second biggest legislative chamber after the People's Legislative Assembly in Peking. But too many peers for what? Do we have difficulty finding a seat in the chamber? I don't think so. Look around you, my lords. There's plenty of space. Do we have difficulty booking a restaurant in the peers' dining room table? Do we not have our written questions accepted? Are we pullulating in such numbers that the ushers are unable to cope with us? I don't think so. And if we are, the one lot of people we really don't have a problem with are those who don't turn up very often. They, by definition, are the ones who are contributing least to the problem and, indeed, claiming least from it. My lords, this chamber has existed in one form or another since Magna Carta, at least if we count the conciliar form of government that took shape under King John and Henry III as the progenitor and ancestor of this chamber. And at no stage did anyone feel the need to insert a minimum attendance requirement. It was assumed that it could be left to the patriotism and judgment of the bishops and barons to decide when something was sufficiently important to merit turning up. Now, have we completely junked that idea of trusting to people's own discretion and judgment? See, again, if it really were a question of numbers, if we really did feel that we were massively overloaded, then why is it that almost every day we keep on admitting more members here? I mean, if ministers really think that the problem is that this is too large a legislature, we seem to be gaining half a dozen people a week. I sometimes feel there's one of those Gilbert and Sullivan operettas, isn't there, where everyone gets a peerage. And I sometimes wonder whether that's the end game, and that actually we will end up, this country will become an oligarchy where the real power is vested in the hands of the last remaining 500 people who still have the right to vote for the other place, and everyone else will have the right to sit here. But you know what? As long as they don't turn up, it's still not a problem. And so I come back to saying I really do dispute the premise, and I know that ministers share my view because, of course, they are not proposing to have a cut-off based on attendance, or indeed a cut-off based on age, because they've looked beyond their manifesto and they've decided to do the right thing rather than be bound by the dots and commas of what their manifesto says. I hope they will extend that logic to the only democratically elected element of your lordship's chamber, namely our hereditary colleagues.
Yeah.